Hey, so we often hear that experience is the best teacher. I'm not quite sure that's true. I think experience can actually be a terrible teacher. What can really teach us a lot is when we reflect on our experiences. So what I want to do right now is give you a chance to reflect on some of my experiences and maybe give you some of the learning that I had to find out the hard way and perhaps save yourself a whole lot of embarrassment. So we got to go back for when I was much younger. There we go. That might be too early. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, so we got that guy, and he could definitely reflect on his fashion choices. And this fellow right here, that's me freshman year of high school. And I have reflected back and found that MC Hammer pants are not a timeless look for formal events. But I learned that by reflecting. Let's go. So this is the guy we want to talk about. Yes. So here, our junior year of high school. And I was loving high school. High school was so much fun. And so I got involved in all kinds of things, and I was meeting new people and hanging out. And as I met new people and hung out with different people at our high school, I found myself in the company of some people who I just really enjoyed spending time with. And I decided I need to spend way more time with this particular person who happened to be smart and fun and athletic and really, really pretty. And she was a grade older than me, and I just could not get enough of being in this person's company. So I was hanging out everywhere they were hanging out, and I think this is a much more accurate picture of me at that time. And because I don't ever have a thought in my head that I don't say out loud, oftentimes multiple times, I found myself in a position to sit with her as we were all at a Coney Island, which you guys understand because Michigan, and I started talking to her. I said, I really enjoy hanging out with you. And she's like, oh my gosh, you're so fun too. I was like, yeah, I really am. And you're so fun, and I think we have a great time together, and I think we should keep hanging out. She's like, of course we're going to keep hanging out. I was like, yeah, I know, but like maybe just you and I, and we can start going out and maybe put a label on it or something. And she was not so keen on that idea. That was not really what she was feeling. And so my meme changed. And I heard her say, Kevin, you're such a good guy. I think it's better off if we're just friends. That was hard to hear. That was not at all what I wanted to hear. Now, what I interpreted as was I didn't learn the lesson. I instead heard, try harder. And so I, at that moment, thought to myself, okay, what else can I do to make myself more lovable, more attractive, someone else that she would really want to be with? And so I decided that was going to be my goal. Now, I don't want you to hear me say this and think that I'm having a conversation about consent or pushing your will on somebody else or not taking no for an answer. 100%, that is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about I'm going to join the yearbook. I'd never read the yearbook before. I would get them, my parents would buy them, and then I would just kind of put it on a shelf. But pretty soon I became a yearbook editor because this person was a yearbook editor. And I had never really followed soccer, but because they were on the soccer team, I found myself at almost all the games. And then I thought maybe I should make signs. But because I wanted to be more lovable, I made signs for everybody on the team. Because I'm a thoughtful guy, not just really creepy stalker. And I went out of my way to just be a nice guy and to be more lovable and to be more, just be more. Because I thought in my head, in the future, if I keep doing this, in the future, she'll like me more. And so I was so focused on that future goal that I just worked at it every chance that I could. And if there's a study group, I'd go. I'm not one for studying, and yet I would still show up to the study groups and see what was going on and hang out, and family went away for the weekend. I'll watch the dog. That sounds great. So I'd watch the family dog, and we really did have this great friendship. And winter break comes along, and we're going to be out of school for about 10 days, and she says, I'm really going to miss you. We should hang out over break. And I was like, we should totally hang out over break. And I thought to myself, what a perfect opportunity to be more likable. And she's like, well, why don't you come over and we'll watch a movie or something? I was like, that sounds great. I love watching movies. Let's do it. She said, perfect. So we set a date, and it was a couple days after the 25th. And I got to her house, It was this cold Michigan winter night. I remember knocking on the door, and I'd been there dozens of times. I'd watched animals, I'd hung out, movie nights, yearbook parties, all kinds of stuff. And so we come in, and I immediately recognized that the house was quiet. And usually it was a bustling place full of activity. And she said, come on in. So I went in, and I said, it's really quiet. And she's like, yeah, my parents are out of town, and they took my brother, and I think there's a hockey tournament or something. And they even took the dog. I was like, wow, cool. And in my head, I thought, okay, be really likable. And I wasn't paying attention at all to what was happening in that moment. And she said, we don't have to go downstairs to watch TV because we can use the big TV. Now, this is my high school experience. So we're talking, like this big and this deep. You know what I'm talking about? Those TVs that if you buy a house and one's in it, you're like, well, I guess that just stays. That's a permanent resident right there. And so it was this big, giant TV, and I walk in, and her family was Christian. They had a beautiful Christmas tree lighting up the room. And I walk in, and there's a big couch and a small couch. And some might call the small couch a love seat. That might be a term you would use. And I walked into the room, and I turned on the light, and I thought to myself, what would be nice is if you gave her the big couch so she's more comfortable. That is a nice thing to do. So because I'm trying to be more likable, I'm thinking about this future goal, this maybe tomorrow, I sat down on the love seat because it's smaller and I wanted her to be more comfortable. And she came in and turned off the light I had just turned on. And so it was just the beautiful glow of the Christmas tree there. And she completely ignored the big couch and sat right next to me on the love seat. Now, right now, people in the audience, you are much brighter than the boy that I was then. And I want you to know that this story gets much, much more embarrassing. Because I was not paying attention to what was happening right then. I was so focused on a maybe tomorrow. So she's like, I'm going to show you my favorite movie. I can't believe you've never seen this. And I hadn't seen a ton of movies. We didn't have a VCR growing up. And so I missed a whole gap of movies. And it was her favorite movie ever. It was called The Little Mermaid. So you guys are familiar with this movie. Now, I can't bring up The Little Mermaid without doing a little bit of a side note. Ariel has a loving family, is musically gifted, is wealthy beyond belief, and has a position of power in her community, and she gives all of it up for a boy in a vest. Ariel, do better. I just think we need to mention that, like, girl, give up your voice? Like, that's not even a metaphor. That's a thing. So anyways, we start watching this movie, and it's about a girl who lives under the sea, and she catches sight of this boy who catches her fancy, and she goes through all of this, and she gives up her voice and tries to win him over. And I had never seen this, but I knew that this was her favorite movie, so I was dialed in. I am watching this, because if she likes this movie, then I can like this movie, and I can make jokes about this movie later, and she'll think, boy, he's really clever, and then maybe one day, the possible maybe future. So I'm watching, and we get about 5-10 minutes into it, and she's like, hey, are you cold? I was like, no, I'm really comfortable because I don't want to be high maintenance, right? Because I want to be easy and likable. She's like, I'm kind of cold. And she gets up and goes over to the couch that I didn't sit on, and neither did she. And she spreads the blanket over both of us. And I think to myself, I don't mind if it's too warm. I won't say anything because I am lovable. Because I'm thinking maybe later in the future. So I'm watching. I'm watching the movie. She's sitting right here, and I'm watching the movie. And she pauses it. And she pauses it at a very particular point. And she says, this is my favorite song. I want you to really pay attention. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm leaning in. And it's a particular moment where Ariel and her would-be beau, Prince Eric, who looks exactly like Flynn Rider and Han Solo, and the Honda Days guy, just really draw better. They're in a boat, and she can't speak, and it's nighttime, and they're rowing. You know the song? Yeah, I can hear you cringing out there. The name of the song is Kiss the Girl. And so she's paused the movie, and I'm thinking about future lovable me. I'm like, all right. She's like, it's my favorite song, pay attention. I was like, you got it. And it's, the reeds are singing, the birds, the flamingos, there's like drapery off the trees. Don't be shy, you've got to kiss the girl. Whoa, whoa. You know it. It's a bop. It's a great song. And I watched the whole thing, and she pauses it at the end of the song. She's like, what did you think? I was like, yo, that song is good. She's like, yeah, it's a really good song, but what do you think? And I was like, well, I mean, other songs are good, and I get it, but like this one's like a level up. Like, is that the same composer? Like, who did the lyrics on that one? Because it's just, you can feel, are the rest of the songs going to keep getting better? Because that's really impressive. And she gets this kind of wistful smile on her face. She's like, yeah, it's my favorite. Let's watch it again. Pay attention. And Homegirl runs it back, you know? And we watch it again, and now I'm getting freaked out. I was like, okay. Really notice it this time. Have some things to talk about. Really. Cinematography. Ooh, that's a good angle. How do they make water reflect like that? And I am staring at this movie, thinking about the future and paying no attention to the person who I really like, who's sitting right next to me under a blanket in a dark house with nobody else home. I'm watching the movie. I know, right? And she pauses it, and she's like, well? And I was like, even better the second time. I'm starting to learn the words. Man, I'm going to be singing this for days. And she gets up, throws the blanket off, and storms into the kitchen. I was like, dang, what did I miss? So I reach the remote, and I start watching it again. It's like, this is really good. Just watching it. And she comes in, and she's like, all right. This girl was super cool. She was ahead of her time. She actually said to me way back in the early 90s, do you want to build a snowman? I was like, dang, that sounds great. And because I was going to do whatever she wanted, because I wanted to be likable, I was like, sure, let's do it. So we stop watching the movie. We go outside. It's cold, but it's so cold that almost the snow is shimmering. You know what I mean? It's a pretty full moon. It's quiet that happens in Michigan when it's real cold. And we go outside. My hat and gloves, and all bundled up. And I start thinking, I was like, dang, if I build a sweet snowman and I put it right where she parks her car, every day when she comes home, she's going to see the snowman. She's going to think, man, Kevin's a great guy. And one day, she might start liking me. One day. Because I'm not paying any attention to now. And so I start rolling. I figure the angle. And I start rolling the snow here, and I'm rolling it. I get the base set up. And right as I stand up, this girl was a varsity soccer player. She was a tremendous athlete. And that is why when she had taken a running start and tackles me into the snowman I was building, I am airborne at this point. I'm just the ESPN top 10 kind of thing. I'm in the air and just and land. And she lands literally on top of me. And she is her body is on top of me, and I am underneath her, and the moon is brilliant, and I do exactly what you'd expect someone to do. I took my arm, and I shot it between her chest and my chest, and I threw her off because there was snow down the back of my jacket. And I jumped up. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cold. Oh my gosh, it's so cold. And I can remember to this day looking down at her with her hand on her arm like this, and she's looking up at me, and the moon and the snow, and she's like, you are not like other people. And I thought to myself, I think I'm getting there. I would love to tell you that this person is now my significant other. And no, 100% not. That is not how this story ends. The story ends with her going off to college and us kind of losing touch. And I didn't even remember that this had happened until I was watching The Little Mermaid like 10 years ago with my own children. And I'm watching it, and I was like, I don't think I've ever seen this. And I'm watching. I was like, this seems kind of familiar. And the kiss the girl scene happened, and it's like that moment in Jaws where the camera zooms in and zooms out at the same time. I was like, oh my gosh, kiss the girl. What was I missed it. I was so focused on maybe later that I was paying no attention to now. Who knows what could have happened? And so I tell you this because we are, as a society, spending so much time looking forward and not paying attention to right now. I can't wait till next weekend. I can't wait till I'm at that school. I can't wait till I finish up this degree. I can't wait till we pay that. And we're putting all this focus on this potential future that we really have almost no control over. And the other thing that we often focus on is all the stuff that happened back there. All that baggage we keep carrying. Because way back then, and I remember this, and the last time I was there, or the last time I saw that person, or this one time. And all we really have is now. And now is in flux. We can't predict now, but we can live in it, and we can adapt, and we can make now matter. Because the more we spend now, the more we dictate what happens next, the more control we have. While the world is in flux, we can adapt and learn and respond. Because if we're not focused on now, we're not really living. So I challenge all of you, as your life gives you in flux, moments of change or transition, or things you didn't even want to happen, or things that are still happening that you wish would stop, or things that happened that you wish hadn't. Let that go as best you can, and live right now, and pay attention, because you don't even know what could be passing you by while your face is in a phone, or your headphones are in, or you're super focused on two animated eels tipping a boat over. Because life has nothing but opportunities, but they all happen right now. Thank you.